Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another video. Today we've got a few little topics to go through, so make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and let's get straight into it. So we're starting off here with a quote by Ben Jacobs, who says, "There's no problem between Jules Kounde and Chelsea. He was essentially in London to finalise things 2 weeks ago. There's still structural elements behind the deal to be done. Chelsea are confident in making the signing for 50 to 55 million. So there we have the fee that's going to be basically finalized in the current talks. 50 to 55 million for Jules Kounde. I think that is a absolute bargain in the current market where players are moving around for 100 mil, etc. To get one of the best young centre backs around that should fit our system really well, wants to be at the club. You know, he wants to be here. He's not faffing around like other players that might, you know, they might join, might leave in a couple of years. It seems like Jules Kounde is really here for the long run. And that's good thing. It says he was in London to finalise things 2 weeks ago, so as I've said previously in videos, things are essentially done there. It's just there's structural elements behind the deal to be done. So this is between now Chelsea and Sevilla to agree on probably some add-ons. I'm guessing the main fee is pretty much sorted, but there's about 5 million difference in what they're looking for, or maybe it might be a bit more, but 5 to 10 mil is probably the difference, and Chelsea think they'll settle within about this range. And that's great to see, because we're going to get a great defender for a fairly cheap price considering where the market is currently at, and it's going to be all wrapped up soon. Hopefully there isn't too long to wait. I'd love to get some announcements over the line, sort of calm people down a little bit, knowing that, we got announced today that Christensen has officially left the club and a few others and such, so getting one in would be real nice, and I think it's going to be fairly soon. It could be another week, maybe a little longer, I don't know, but hopefully soon it gets over the line. Moving on then to Chelsea will hold more talks with Cesar Azpilicueta after his international duty. Barcelona want him, but do not want to pay a fee. Tuchel made it clear that he wants Azpilicueta to stay. He's been preparing to say, or he had, been preparing to say farewell to Chelsea. So we know that Azpi basically was looking to go to Spain, spend a couple of years there probably, and then sort of see out his career and end off there. So Chelsea are going to look to hold more talks. They will hold more talks with Azpi. The fact that he's even in discussion makes me think that there's a chance he stays. He's given the club his time to hear what they've got to say and whether they will offer him, an extra year or whatever to keep him on board. Barcelona, but do not want to pay a fee. That to me is ridiculous. We've still got him contracted for a year, so we can't be letting him go for free. I'd expect something out of it. I understand he's an aging player and such, but he played plenty of games for Chelsea last year. We're currently going through a patch where we really need defenders. There's no reason we should be giving them a buy on this one. They wouldn't do it to us if we were in this situation, so we shouldn't do it to them. And we should request some amount of money. If it's 5-10 million, I don't know. But our priority should be to get to Azpi to stay, and it says here Tuchel has made it clear that he wants him to stay. So Tuchel seems to be on the same wavelength. Give it another year. I'm open to giving Azpi 2 years. I think he'd play a good amount in this next year coming up. After that, if we strengthen again, sure, maybe he doesn't get the playing time he wants, then maybe he can move on. And I know it's another year of his life wasted, is what he'll see, another year of his career gone, and he might not get the move to Barcelona that he really wants, obviously being a Spanish international. Probably makes sense that he wants to go to Barca, but for me, we need to keep him another year, but he wants to say goodbye to Chelsea, which is upsetting. I always like to see players retiring at the club that they've, been a bit of a legend at. I think it's safe to say Azpi is a legend of this club, but we need to keep him here for at least another year, and I'd happily keep him on for 2. So for me, Tuchel is right. We need to do everything we can to keep Azpi to stay, because even if he's just backroom, he'd be so useful around the club, bringing in some of these youth defenders. So it'll teach them the ropes and hopefully breed a new leader out of Reece James or Mason Mount, so new captain. So really hoping this one comes through and we get Azpi to stay. Then next up we have Chelsea have sent Koulibaly a €10 million net per season offer. He's valued at 40 million. I'm not too sure whether they added this last bit on. That's obviously going to be some sort of transfer fee, but we've offered him a €10 million per year contract. Now I don't know how that compares to what he's currently at, but it seems like a pretty generous offer. And of course he would be a more experienced player that we'd be bringing in. He'd be solid in our backline, I'm almost certain. Koulibaly is an experienced defender, one that if we brought him alongside Jules Kounde, I think that's enough for us to get through this next season, losing Rudiger and Christensen. I think we'd do fine with Koulibaly and Kounde, and then of course Trevor Chalobah, Aspi, whoever it might be that ends up playing in that other spot, we'd be okay. And you know, Chelsea have sent him an offer, so it really does show intention from Chelsea there that they're going through and obviously agreeing verbal terms with him before they even consider going through the club, just to make sure that there's interest from him. And by the sounds of it, there is. I've heard that he does love Napoli a lot and he wouldn't want to leave the country, but with the generous enough offer and a great project to be a part of. We have won the Champions League very recently. We're winning other Club World Cup, Super Cup, blah blah blah, all this sort of stuff. Looking to challenge for domestic honours. We've been in so many finals in the Premier League and the FA Cup, Carabao Cup, etc. So for me, it makes sense for him to come here. I really do hope he does. And I think most people agree on this one. He's probably the next defender we need to get if we, are sort of locking in Kounde, right? So, Koulibaly, 10 million a year contract. It's tempting, it's got to be said. Then following on, we have Declan Rice remains a Chelsea target, and Tuchel is a huge admirer of the midfielder. We know this. Who wasn't involved in the promotion for the Irons' latest kit release. I don't think there's too much to read into that personally. I might be wrong, but I don't think there's much in that. And it said it's believed negotiations could begin if a bid in excess of 75 million was submitted. This is coming from Adam Newson, of course, with Football London. Decky Rice, 75 million is where negotiations could start, is what's believed in people that, have ears at these clubs. And that's interesting because looking at the current market, right, Tchouaméni moving on, Nunez moving on, 100 million these players are looking to sort of go in for. Declan Rice, I know a lot of people think it's just an English tax, it's all that sort of stuff. I think he's worth, if you put 75 to 100 million down, I think he's worth somewhere within that range. Will Chelsea pay that much? If it's an initial fee of about 75 million, I could see it happening. Then of course add-ons filling it up to about 90 something around there. I think that's a tempting offer for West Ham, knowing that that they're gonna lose him soon. If it's not this year, it's almost certainly next year. They get 90 million out of it this year. What would they get next year? It's going to go down and down and down until they eventually just let him go. And at the end of it, it might come down to him running his contract down because he's not going to accept a new one. That's been made pretty clear by the advancements they've tried to make, that he has not been accepting. So for me, I still don't think this is dead, and I might be crazy, but I think Decky Rice could be coming to Chelsea this year. At least Chelsea might submit a bid. That's where I'm putting my cards down. I'll say I think Chelsea will submit a bid for him this year, and I think it'll be in the range of about 80 to 90 million, and sort of test them with that. Who knows, I might be wrong. Then moving on to the story regarding Raheem Sterling, it says Chelsea want key England international, but he seeks assurances first. And as you can see here, it does go on to say that Chelsea want to sign Sterling this summer, but the player himself wants assurances over regular playing time if he is to commit to moving to London. It also then says that the price tag is about 60 million, and he's got 1 year left on his contract. So for me, no chance we pay 60. If it was 30 to 40, somewhere about there, I think Chelsea are willing to cough that up for a pretty top winger. But we also have to keep in mind that his playing time, how much playing time does Raheem Sterling get in this team? He's obviously one of the main starters, right? But if you're considering that we have a sort of either two strikers and two behind, or a one striker, two behind, whatever it is, there's usually three up front. So assuming Mason Mount stays further forward, he doesn't drop to a midfield slot. You got Mason Mount up there. You'll have a striker, whether it's Armando Broja, bringing in someone, if it ends up being Lukaku still, who knows. And then Raheem Sterling fills in that slot. That leaves Pulisic, Ziyech, Timo Werner. Like, we've got a lot of players that would be very unhappy to not be getting much playing time. And I don't know how much playing time they can assure him without knowing if we're selling Pulisic, Ziyech, Timo, whoever it might be. I didn't even mention Kai Havertz in that, I forgot about him. So, there's potential problems there. There will need to be departures up front if we're going to sign someone like him. bringing in Ousmane Dembele into that mix. You know, there's too many players up front if we're going to do that. So I think we will see some departures. I'd expect maybe Ziyech would be the most likely out of the lot, just because I don't think the new owners are going to sell an American player. I think Timo Werner could go, but it depends on if... I think he'd probably go to a German club, so it depends if Bayern are looking for someone. I don't know. It's a tricky one for me, but this asking price needs to come down. Chelsea are not going to pay 60 million for Raheem Sterling, I can tell you that now. So, bit of an iffy one with the Sterling situation, but I'm sure we'll see some updates and hopefully a resolution to this story soon. Well, that's going to be the end of the video, guys. If you did enjoy, please be sure to leave a like on it, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss a future video. I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.